Have you ever felt like we're living in two different worlds at the same time? One where we're making these incredible leaps forward, and another where everything feels, well, chaotic. How do you make sense of a world that's both speeding up and kind of falling apart? Well, in this explainer, we're going to try and do just that by navigating the bizarre paradoxes that are shaping our future.
So on one hand, we've got these amazing tools with almost unlimited promise. Take artificial intelligence. It's pitched to us as this game-changing technology, right? The thing that's going to help us solve humanity's biggest problems, from climate change to disease. It's all about turning massive potential into real-world performance.
But then there's this, the other side of the coin. A recent global survey found that 52% of people have already been hit with sophisticated deepfake scams, all powered by that exact same AI. We're not talking about a small fraction here. That's more than half of us.
And that really brings us to the core question, doesn't it? How can the very same thing that holds so much promise for good also be one of our biggest threats? This isn't just a simple problem. It's a fundamental paradox of our time, and we really need to get our heads around it.
So let's start with the paradox that you and I probably feel every single day. The promise and the peril of just being online. Because what we're seeing with AI, it's not actually new. It's just the latest chapter in a story that's been unfolding for years on the internet. I mean, doesn't it feel like for all the amazing tech we have, just using the internet is getting harder? You know that feeling of wading through search results just filled with junk, what some people are calling AI slop? Or you're trying to buy something and you just keep asking yourself, is this review even from a real person? All of that friction, all that distrust, it's created this new default reflex for all of us online. We just hesitate.
All right, let's switch gears to our next paradox, because this is where it gets even weirder. This one is all about how trying to warn people about the future can, somehow, actually make things worse.
This quote pretty much nails it. It's a deeply human, if totally counterintuitive, reaction. When you hear non-stop warnings about the future, climate disasters, rogue AI, the whole shebang, a really strange kind of logic can kick in. You only live once. YOLO. Why should I sacrifice today for a tomorrow that might not even show up?
Believe it or not, there's a name for this. Economists call it the paradox of doom. And the theory goes like this. The higher the risk of a total catastrophe, the less we value the future. It just seems too uncertain. So we get more impatient, we focus on right now, and we become less and less willing to make those big long-term sacrifices that are needed to stop the bad thing from happening in the first place. It's a seriously dangerous feedback loop.
And just look, these fears are not on the fringe, not at all. A recent global survey shows just how massive this anxiety is. 72% of us are expecting more extreme weather. Almost half the population fears a nuclear conflict, and over a third are worried about rogue AI. This level of fear, this widespread anxiety, it is the exact fuel that powers the paradox of doom.
So, all this digital weirdness and anxiety about the future, it actually leads to a really fascinating side effect. Let's call it the connection paradox. It seems the more plugged in and digitally connected we become, the more we're desperate for something, well, real.
There's this trend starting to pop up called social rewilding. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It's people making a real effort to find authentic offline connections. You see it in the rise of running clubs, pottery classes, even just groups that go for walks in the city. It's the search for messy, sensory, real-world interactions. Anything to balance out the cold, sterile glow of our screens.
And honestly, nothing captures this feeling better than this comment someone left on a viral video of high school kids from the 90s. There's this incredible nostalgia for a time when it felt like people were just there, in the moment, before we all started performing our lives online instead of just living them. It really strikes a chord.
Now, this search for connection, it isn't just happening in our neighborhoods and cities. Let's zoom out, way out, because on the biggest scale imaginable, it's humanity's search for connection out there in the cosmos. And that search, well, it has led us to the ultimate paradox.
It's called the Fermi paradox, and it's beautifully simple. The universe is mind-bogglingly huge, filled with billions and billions of planets that could be like Earth. So the odds of alien life being out there seem pretty high. And yet, we hear nothing, we see nothing, just silence. And so the great cosmic question is, where is everybody?
One pretty unsettling answer to that question is that maybe advanced civilizations just don't make it. When scientists model it out, most of the paths a civilization can take end in some kind of collapse. You either burn through your resources too fast, or you try to change, but it's too little, too late. The path to long-term survival, it turns out, is terrifyingly narrow. Or maybe the answer is even more chilling. There's a hypothesis called the dark forest, and it suggests the universe isn't empty, it's just quiet, on purpose. The idea is that other civilizations are out there, but they're hiding, because they know that announcing your existence in the cosmic dark is like shouting in a forest full of silent, armed hunters. The only winning move is to stay quiet.
Okay, so our digital world is getting weird, warnings about the future are backfiring, and the universe might be a silent, scary place. That is a lot. I get it. But just being paralyzed by all this isn't really an option, right? So how can we think about the future in a way that's actually useful? We need a toolkit.
The first and most important step is a mental shift. We need to stop trying to predict the future and start practicing foresight. See, prediction is a fool's game. It's trying to guess the one single thing that's going to happen. Foresight is smarter. It's about preparing for uncertainty by asking a much better question. Not what will happen, but what could happen. It's about mapping out multiple possible futures so you're ready no matter which way things go.
So what's in this toolkit? First up is learning to spot weak signals. Think of these as little whispers of the future. Small, early clues that point to a much bigger change coming down the road. A great example is the early protests against GMO foods. Back then, it seemed kind of fringe, but it was a weak signal of a huge shift that was coming in what consumers wanted.
And the other tool is understanding wildcards. These are the total game changers, the low probability but incredibly high impact events, like 9/11, nobody really sees coming. Now, you can't predict a wild card, but what you can do is build stronger, more resilient systems and societies that are able to take a hit and bounce back when the unexpected inevitably happens.
So after going through all these paradoxes, from our screens to the stars, what's the big takeaway here? The goal isn't just to be scared straight by all the terrifying stories about what could go wrong.
No, the real lesson is this. Focusing on plausible, real-world solutions is always more powerful than just wallowing in doom and gloom. Acknowledging the risks is step one, for sure. But pairing that knowledge with a path forward, that's what actually gets people to act.
And that leaves us with one final thought. In this world that's so full of contradictions, where incredible promise and terrifying peril are two sides of the same coin, the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we all build together. So the only question left is, what part are you going to play?